Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is my first video. As a new starting up videographer and editor, I thought it would be good to share some views, just kind of get in the community a bit more. So I've started this channel, wanted to tell you all my experiences, want to hear your experiences, and hopefully we can kind of learn from each other. So I actually started getting into video about 10 years ago. I studied it at GCSE, sixth form, uni, you name it. I went full in with no plan B whatsoever. So when I was at uni, we did a course centered around music videos. It was their way of kind of getting us to be more experimental with low budgets. And obviously music videos tend to be quite visual. So for the music video course, they let us choose who we wanted to work with as artists. And me being me, I was really into Korea. I was learning Korean, I still am. And I felt like I'd already made a few music videos anyway, so I wanted to add an extra challenge on top for me. And that challenged me, being me, like I said, into Korea, went and messaged so many Korean companies. I went on CJENM's YouTube channel, and it's basically, I think they're called Stone Music now, but they basically get paid to put out music videos. You get a lot of big groups there, like BTS, Big Bang. That's showing my age, that really is. I found an artist called Days, and he does very chill R&B. He was very obviously up and coming. He was very talented. He gave me kind of like Dean/Hayes vibes. I was just super into his sound. And he had a video for each track of his new album that had come out. So I looked into the description, looked at the company, and I just messaged them, just emailed them. I spent ages typing out this email in Korean, thinking nothing of it, because I'd sent so many emails by then, and they got back to me. And we actually came to an agreement that the company would send two of their artists over with the company. So it would be Days and another one of their artists, whose name I won't mention. So we decided they'd come to the UK for, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. This was back in 2017, and film 2 music videos for them. It was all very well planned. Like, it went quite smoothly, considering like it was in 1 week, 2 music videos in 1 week. That's a lot. You can still see them on Stone Music's channel. It gained about 150,000 views, somewhere around there. Although I'm proud of them, because they were my first commission project, I feel like there was a lot I could have done better. And if you're a creator too, everything you create, you're going to feel the same way. And that's okay, because everything you create is a lesson. And you learn from that lesson, and then you make something else, and you bear that in mind. And the idea is you improve each time, but you're never going to see your own work as perfect, which is kind of what I was going through at the time. Like, this was my first commissioned music video. Like, that wasn't just me and my friends. So I put a lot of pressure on myself for it to be perfect, especially it being Korean. Korean music videos tend to be very polished and perfect. And although these are indie artists, I still wanted to kind of make it as perfect as possible. So me trying out all these special effects, I'll show some in the screen right now. It took me weeks and weeks and weeks to perfect that, and even now I'm still looking at it like it's just not. Basically how I got into that was literally just emailing people, and those contacts that I made doing those music videos allowed me to work for more companies in Korea. So I went to Korea and I worked for another video production company, I worked for another music agency. So if you are thinking about just how do I start, how do I do this, how do I do that, just message people, email them all. Don't be afraid of them saying no, because more often than them saying no, they just won't reply and you forget you sent the message anyway, so it's fine. But if you are thinking of going across the sea into Korea or France or whatever country you want to go to, try and learn the language a little bit, because I worked there without knowing as much as I should have known, and it was really stressful for everyone, not just me, but for the company I worked for as well. Although I improved drastically in such a short space of time, the first week or so, or couple of weeks, it was just an awkward mess. So my advice to you, learn the language, learn the culture, and if you do decide to stay in your home country and do it that way, which is what I'm doing now, just put yourself out there. We have a very strong vision in our head of what we want, and it almost never turns out that way. Sometimes it turns out better, sometimes it turns out worse, but it's almost never what we see in our head. So it's okay to kind of accept that and don't beat yourself up over it. It's never going to be perfect in your eyes, but that's the thing, creativity is so subjective. It's impossible for the whole world to absolutely love what you're creating, but your audience will find you and they will love it. And if you like it, then that's all that matters, because if you like it, there's always going to be someone else out there that does. So working on the Korean music videos, I kind of got an insight in before I went to Korea and how the industry kind of works over there. It's all very well planned and polished, which I love because I can't stand the idea of going into a shoot with little to no idea what I'm doing. I find it really stressful, and if you're working with a team of people, they also need to know what you're doing. I also got an insight into how hardworking they are. So in the K-pop industry, you see people like BTS and you hear their story. Kind of hard to believe at some points, but trust me, it is not over-exaggerated. These people will work early hours of the morning into the early hours of the morning. I remember coming back from shoots and they took us out for a barbecue and I'd be out until 3 a.m. and I'd be on call for the next day at 9. But I think this kind of stretches across not just the creative industry in Korea, it kind of stretches across every kind of job there, because they do have very strict working ethics, which I really admire, but I personally can't keep up with them, which is part of the reason why I decided to work in the UK and on my own, because before this, and when I was doing these 2 music videos, I had my own company, and there was all sorts of managing people and stuff like that I wasn't ready for. I was still at uni, I hadn't managed anyone in my life, and for some reason I thought to myself, I need to set up a limited company, I need to manage a team of people, I can do this, and it didn't take off because I wasn't ready, and I didn't know that at the time, but looking back now I know. So now what I'm doing is working freelance by myself, for myself, kind of getting my own routine set up, learning how I work, learning how I can split my days up, how I can be the most productive person I can be, because then once I know all that, then I can start to manage a team and extend that onto other people. Okay, so working with these 2 artists, the first one, Days, he is a producer at heart, he's a producer, and the company wanted him to become a singer as well, so to produce and to sing his own music. Beautiful voice, beautiful work, the beats, everything, it was such a vibe. But he told me himself that he wasn't comfortable being on camera and being in the limelight. He was much more happier to be behind the scenes, which was interesting because I'd never worked with someone that didn't want to be on camera. Everyone I'd worked with was always, yeah, let's do this, very confident, you know. So it was a good experience to learn how to work with a shyer type of person and to kind of get them out of their shell a bit more. I think the video itself is just him walking around London. The company wanted to see London in it. I wanted to get some special effects, so we did like a day in London and a day in the studio for him. And I think with the special effects, it kind of worked out quite well because him not being comfortable on camera meant I could do double exposure, and that meant he wasn't actually on camera, it was just his outline. So that really saved him and me in hindsight. Whereas the second lot of singers and rappers that I filmed for this company, they were the opposite, complete opposite. They were so confident, they were into it, they were just doing their thing, and it was, in comparison, a lot easier to work with, but at the same time, you do need to learn how to rein it into the vibe that you want, because there's 2 of them and they're doing their own thing, so you need to find a middle ground for it to harmonise. Whereas with the first guy, although you had to get him out of his shell a bit, he was a lot more easier to direct. So there's good and bad on each side. I think when you're working with people and you're directing people, you need to learn what sort of personality they do and what sort of things they respond to. So some people respond to gentle, kind suggestions, whereas some people just need you to tell them this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to look, now get on with it. You just need to kind of get that vibe, which is why I always try to get a meeting before I direct a music video or anything in that case. So in this case, we went and got fish and chips together because they've just come to England and I wanted to show them what's good, and that's fish and chips. So we had a nice meal together. They had the company there, we had the artists there, we were all just chatting. I was practicing my Korean, trying to make them feel a bit like, she's not good either. So we could communicate a bit more fairly. And I think at some point with Days, we'd almost invented our own language when I was shooting him, because we were doing quite a lot of tight lens and then standing far away from him to kind of let him forget there was a camera there. So behind the lens, I'm like, and he got it, he understood. So it really worked out in the end. It was a really fun experience. So I think for obviously this channel, I would like to kind of demystify some of the fears around cinematography, videography, especially as a woman in the industry. I don't know about US, I can't speak for you guys, but in the UK, this is very male dominated, and it's getting a lot better, but I still feel like people like me that are going into it and quite new to it, it can be a bit daunting. Clients aren't as scary as they may seem. They may have ideas and things, but at the end of the day, they know that you're the professional and that you know what works. So if you come across with this confidence, they're going to trust you. If you don't, that's when things can get shaky. I was 18 and I hadn't even graduated, and I managed to get a company from Korea to come to the UK to work with me. I don't know how I did that, but it just kind of proves that anything is possible. Just kind of go out there and just try and get what you want to get. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, just keep going, because it's not going to fail if you keep going. It's only going to fail if you stop. So I think for this channel, I would like to kind of show my experiences, kind of share my knowledge. Obviously, I'm still learning. Obviously, I've only been doing this freelance officially for a few months, though I have been in the industry for a few years, which is why I'd also like to learn from you guys. So any comments, any feedback, much well appreciated, and hopefully we can get some sort of dialogue going and just kind of learn from each other, because we're all in this together. Thanks guys for watching and sticking through my rambling. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.